Have you ever felt like you weren't alone, even when there was no one else around? In tonight's tale, we explore a haunting legend about a bus that carries an unexpected passenger. People board the bus, but they all share one thing in common. They see a silent figure, sitting in the back, watching, waiting. What happens next is something no one can explain. Welcome to episode 10 of Whispers in the Dark, Late Night Tales, and the unsettling story of the silent passenger.
It was a cold, rainy evening when Leah boarded the late-night bus home. She was one of the last passengers of the night, the streets almost empty as the bus rumbled through the city. The driver gave her a nod, and she took a seat halfway down the aisle, sinking into the worn cushion, her mind lost in thought. The bus rattled along the dimly lit roads, the sound of the rain against the windows soothing in the quiet. Leah glanced around. The bus was mostly empty, just a few passengers scattered across the seats. But as she gazed toward the back, she noticed something strange. There, in the very last row, sat a figure. Dressed in dark clothes, their face hidden in shadow, they were perfectly still. Leah squinted, trying to make out the person's features, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't see their face clearly. At first, Leah thought nothing of it. Maybe they were just keeping to themselves, avoiding the light. But as the bus rolled on, a strange feeling settled over her. The figure in the back never moved. No shifting, no sound, not even a breath. It was as if they weren't really there. The bus made several stops, passengers getting on and off, but the figure remained unmoving. Leah felt a growing unease, her eyes drifting back to the figure every few minutes. She glanced at the driver, but he seemed completely unaware, his focus on the road. Finally, Leah couldn't take it anymore. She leaned forward to ask the woman sitting across from her if she saw the figure too. Do you see them? The person in the back? Her voice was low, barely more than a whisper. The woman frowned, glancing behind her. What are you talking about? There's no one back there. Leah's blood ran cold. She turned to look again, but the figure was still there, sitting in the same spot, staring straight ahead. Her heart began to race, and she could feel the weight of the figure's presence pressing down on her, even though they hadn't moved an inch. As the bus continued on its route, Leah couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The figure wasn't just sitting there. They were watching, waiting. The bus made its final stop. Leah gathered her things, her hands shaking as she stood up to leave. She glanced back one last time, and for the first time all night, the figure moved. They turned their heads slowly, their face still obscured in shadow. But Leah could feel their eyes on her, piercing through the darkness. Her breath caught in her throat as she stumbled off the bus, her legs weak beneath her. The doors hissed shut behind her, and she watched as the bus disappeared into the night, the figure still seated in the back, watching her until they were out of sight. Leah never spoke of what she saw that night, but the memory haunted her. She avoided that bus route, never wanting to board again, never wanting to see that silent figure waiting in the back. The legend of the silent passenger is known to those who ride the late-night buses. Some say they've seen the figure too, always sitting in the back, watching quietly. No one knows who or what they are, but everyone agrees on one thing. Once you've seen the silent passenger, you'll never forget them. yourself on a late-night bus, take a look around. If you see a figure sitting quietly in the back, don't try to meet their eyes. Don't speak to them. And whatever you do, don't let them follow you home. But remember, it's just a story, or is it?